It gives me great pleasure now to introduce today's commencement speaker. For several years, I had heard about her on the national scene in higher education. She was always spoken of with admiration and respect by her fellow presidents at colleges and universities across the country. People kept saying to me, "You must meet Retha Clark King. You must meet Retha Clark King." Then when I became president of Rhode Island College, it became inevitable that we would meet because we had an interesting common experience. We both followed the late David Sweet as presidents of our respective institutions. And meet we did. And I immediately joined the countless others who hold her in high regard and understood why I am proud to call her a colleague. Please welcome our speaker today, Dr. Retha Clark King.
Thank you very much, President Guado. You probably see that Dr. Sweet had the same influence on us. We are both wearing maroon gowns now. And I'm sure with our mutual admiration for each other, we'll be doing more and more things alike in the future. I was sitting there thinking as my fellow recipients of honorary degrees were being cited that this is one of the most awesome experiences I could have. First, I'm facing an audience that's saying, you better say something worthwhile, and for God's sakes, keep it brief. And secondly, my fellow degree recipients, honorary degree recipients, are saying, you better represent us well, or you better not come back and sit down. So I have a challenge both to the front and to the back, and I'm very pleased about it and very happy to have this challenge today. And besides that, my son is sitting up there saying, "Mom, do a good job, don't embarrass me, please." So, which probably I just did, but that's okay. Governor Dupree, members of the Board of Governors, Commissioner McMahon, President Guado, graduating students, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to all of you for the privilege to be with you today and for this very high honor to be your speaker for this wonderful occasion. It is a special pleasure for me to be with you, and I'm extremely grateful to all of you for inviting me back to your institution for such an exciting experience. Even with the rain, I could see the beauty of the campus this time, which apparently I couldn't see before. I didn't remember so well. That is when Dr. Sweet was here. So Carol, you've already added something. Like we women know that we will when we get to these jobs. Okay. As most of you know, I knew Dr. Sweet rather well, and beyond that, he was my predecessor at Metropolitan State University. Because of his presidencies at both Rhode Island College and Metropolitan State, we at Metropolitan State feel a special kinship to Rhode Island College, sort of like we are offspring of the same parent. And I greatly admire the work of your president. And every time I would say a president is appointed at any college and university, you could hear cheers across the land. Either they're good or they didn't know any better. But every time a woman is appointed president, you will hear 3 cheers across the land for obvious reasons. Because of these acquaintances, I have always had, through the years of my presidency, very fond memories of Rhode Island College, fond thoughts of you. And as of today, I will be a part of your family, an achievement that I am very proud of. I have titled my speech, Culture for Service and Visions of Excellence. I said to Jay, my son, this morning when we were having breakfast, that culture for service, second to none, is the motto of my undergraduate alma mater, Clark College in Atlanta, Georgia. But sadly, I did not know what it meant when I was there as an undergraduate. And I think that's typical of graduating students everywhere, especially the younger ones. The grandeur that you're experiencing today, you will not know the full meaning of it for many years to come. But hang in there, you will find out, and experience will teach you what it means. Clearly, this occasion is special because I, along with my new friends, have been selected or have now received an honorary degree from this wonderful institution. I deem this a very exceptional honor, an humbling experience, one that fills me and my family with great pride. I can imagine that some of you are thinking, well, getting an honorary degree was easier because those of us who received them a few minutes ago did not sweat through all of the exam weeks that you went through. And we were not writing all of those papers and staying up late at night to meet class deadlines. Looking at the four of us, you're probably saying about your degree what the gentleman on the Smith Barney commercial says, you got yours the old-fashioned way. You earned it. Well, I'm here to tell you we earn ours too, but in a different way. The way we earn it is forever exciting to reflect on. What was our reaction to the news that we have been selected to receive an honorary degree? Permit me to share my reaction with you. When I received the call that I was being selected to receive an honorary degree, I was standing by my secretary's desk. Then I quietly walked back to my own desk, into my office, and on the way, tears welled into my eyes, and I said to myself, well, I must have done something right. This thought was accompanied by a feeling of great inspiration. I was greatly inspired to keep on doing whatever that something right is that I have been doing. But there was another thought in the form of a question. And the question that occurred to me at that moment, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? To me, getting a degree at any time and of any kind is a growing up experience, regardless of whether you earn them the old-fashioned way or whether they are honorary degrees. You might ask, what was your secretary doing? She was jumping up and down, happy, yelling, exciting. And by the way, I point that out because that kind of spirit around you is the spirit that helps the president of an institution of anything endure. You got to have those that are happy for you when you succeed. Half the time they're worried that nobody loves you enough because they know what you put up with. Other people don't. Both of these kinds of degrees bring expectations of us by those who are around us. Today, both you and I are facing these raised expectations because we are receiving degrees. The question then is, can we face the challenges implicit in these expectations and show those around us that we are not only more cultured men and women, now that we are more educated, but we can show them that we can and that we will use all that our degrees stand for to help others realize a higher quality of life and to realize our own visions of excellence. Can we think in terms of the needs of others rather than ourselves? I think this is what Clark College was challenging us to do in its motto, culture for service, second to none. And I just realized the real meaning of that many, many years later. As a matter of fact, it's been 35 years since I left Clark College. Getting to the point where I can think about the needs of others rather than just me is the kind of person I have wanted to be when I grow up. Your selection of us to receive these honorary degrees signify that we are making progress on this goal, and it is the right direction for our lives. When you have been president of the same institution for more than 10 years these days, the question of future direction for your life occurs to you often. My children even ask me about it. What are you going to do after Metro State? In this regard, there's a message in this honorary degree. Now when people ask, where are you going? That is your next job when you leave Metro State, I can respond, well, I don't know, but I feel that I'm going in the right direction. Coming to this feeling of wanting to devote more of one's life to meeting the needs of others is not an easy decision. This has been my case because of having been so poor and seemingly so deprived in my early years. During later years, this led me to be preoccupied, mostly with strategies, thoughts about overcoming deprivation. and with thoughts about getting rich. I honestly wanted to become rich one day when I was picking cotton in that hot sun in South Georgia. And with thoughts about overcoming the barriers to me and others to participation in our society because of race and gender. Those barriers have been awesome, and they continue. Life seemed so hard during these early years. As was indicated earlier, my parents were sharecroppers with very little education. My father was illiterate, died illiterate at 51, and my mother was educated to the 3rd grade. But they were good examples. They were good and caring people. They were so well liked by neighbors and family friends. I started school at age 4 in a one-room schoolhouse, which was also our community's church. For blacks, services were poor in our society because it was segregated. It was our apartheid in America. But luckily, we made the best of the opportunities we had. In school, my sister and I were introduced to a Miss Florence Frazier, our teacher, who quickly became a role model and an inspirer. Through my young years, my sisters and I did lots of field work, picking cotton, gathering tobacco, whatever. Picking cotton would not have been so bad if it had not been for the hot sun. So my big dream as a child was to grow up, to get an education and then get a good job paying a good salary. I was motivated to get an education so it would be a means to an end for a good job. Without an education, I knew my options were limited. So I had a dream every day to get an education. At one point, this was awful. This was an awful past, an awful experience because of the difficulties. Today, I view it as a proud past because I learned so well how education can be used as a tool to create opportunities and possibilities for oneself and for others. It is a special tool for facing the challenges of our time. And that is one message from the degrees that you're getting today, especially to the young students who've earned your degrees the old-fashioned way. It is not the education that you've gotten with your degree, but it's the power of the tool that that education will be in the future that will be so valuable and so beautiful for you. Now, facing our raised expectations, the challenges of our time, are we ready? Clearly, this is a happy moment now, a transition in life, when I can turn all of my thoughts totally and completely to meeting the needs of others, either through my family, my institution, or my community. Now, those of you who are eager to get out and make a big salary, probably saying, well, you must have made a little money by now. I have. It has been easier, become easier to face the raised expectation which us graduates must deal with. There are some pressing issues that we must turn our knowledge and skills and wisdom that we are getting today to. What will our focus be now without pressures of exams and papers and schedules to deal with? Well, we will respond to this question in different ways. But a glimpse of the day, the news of our day, gives us a clue to some of the real-world events that need our attention. We have demonstrated ourselves to be good problem solvers and role models. Over the past year, what have some of these indications been that our society so very much needs the problem-solving abilities that we have, and our society needs our desire to solve these problems? Tracking the news in recent months, starting last October, I would note the following as my indications that society needs our attention. They are not all sad moments, but there are some awesome moments in here. First of all, in Minnesota, there was the ecstasy from the Minnesota Twins winning the World Series. Even college and university presidents got caught up in that confusion. It seems like the Twins have all forgotten what it takes to win the World Series, though. Then there was the event, the anxiety from the volatility of the stock market. When you start earning money, graduates, you're going to be watching that stock market, and you're going to be blue with the October 19th, too. Then there was the joy from the record rise of the stock market. These are the headlines in the news in the morning as I rushed to get that newspaper. Then there was a special meeting in the United Way to deal with children using drugs. Then there was reading that the United States Senate might invoke the War Powers Act. Then there was news about how to provide better for impoverished single parents. And then how to deal with the catastrophic disease AIDS. I serve on the board of directors for an insurance company. The most awesome experience I've ever had in a board meeting was the question, should people with the AIDS virus be eligible for insurance? That was a troubling moment for me. It was a sad moment. And I went back to my office and I had a meeting following that with some faculty person. I couldn't keep my mind on what I was doing. I really felt that what we were talking about, as important as it was for my institution, wasn't the big issue of the day. I was preoccupied about that troubling problem that people are facing with AIDS, all of us are facing. Because if we are not affected by the disease in our family, we're sitting on boards and working with organizations that must cause us to be concerned about other people who are affected. And that's true about every problem in our society. If it doesn't touch us directly, it touches us indirectly. And the real question is, how do we handle that responsibility? Then in United Way, we're constantly dealing with the needs of the homeless people. Some of them living in bridges, even in Minnesota, where the quality of life is touted to be so high. And then the federal deficit. And then the problem of running out of prison space, even in Minnesota. Raises the question, why do we have so many people in the prisons in the first place? And then what to do about the problems in South Africa and selling stock, and the continued problems of what to do about our own apartheid in America. And then the default rate on educational loans. Then the problems of the Middle East. And then the crisis in Panama. And then the debt of the third world countries. And then the increasing teenage pregnancies. So I sat thinking to myself, as Governor Dupree was talking about the future, that change is coming so fast that the future is here. Every day, every morning we read the paper, we get a glimpse of the future. Those of us in leadership position get that glimpse more quickly. And my problem in my position is whom do I talk to about it? Whom do I mention it to? This list of events, this rushing future, this rushing to us, will cause some of us to say that these times we're living in are the worst of times. It will cause others to say that these times are the best of times. I simply say that these are real times, times that those of us, you and I especially, those of us receiving degrees must help to deal with. I know personally that we can't solve all the problems, but the greatest pleasure of each day is that we are here to add our energy, our ideas, and our talents to helping to solve the problems of our day. Regardless of how big these problems are, we have the freedom, the opportunity, as well as hopefully the desire to help solve the problems and to help make this world, yours and mine, as good as we want it to be. I strongly believe that the world can be as good as we want it to be. Any problem we have, we can solve. It is not a question today of whether we know how to have a better world, how to solve the problems. The question is whether we have the will to work together and solve the problems we fear. As I conclude, I'd like to leave you recommend three tools for you to work with, tools based on experience. Tool number one, we must have a vision, and the vision must be greater than the space we occupy. The president's vision, president of a university, must extend beyond the boundaries of the campus. That's the space we own, but that is not the space that shapes our vision. It can't be. The vision of the housewife who volunteers certainly extends beyond her house. The vision of the faculty must extend beyond the classroom and his or her office. The vision of the department chair must extend beyond that department that he or she is chairing. The vision of blacks must extend beyond their own race. The vision of whites must extend beyond their race. The only kind of vision that contributes to the solution of problems in our society is the vision that extends beyond the narrow space that we occupy. It has to connect with somebody else's space, regardless of how painful or frustrating that connection might be. We should all be aware, however, Governor, we would say to Governor Perpich and his administrators, my governor in Minnesota is Governor Perpich, that bureaucracy can stifle vision. Bureaucracy can wipe out vision. Okay, so my first tool, the vision that shapes our dreams must extend beyond the space we occupy. My second tool, be aware that to achieve the social progress we desire, we must change many systems, not just one, but many systems. And those systems are extending beyond international boundaries more and more. I'm reminded of Martin Luther King's challenge when he said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I have a list of many systems, large and small, that we must change. I won't take the time to read them to you, but keep in mind that we must change many systems to bring justice and social progress to people, not just a few. And tool number 3, to help establish, we must work to establish a stronger ethical foundation for our own work as leaders in our society and for the work of the enterprises we lead. I cannot recall a time in my 50 years for sure when we were at such a loss for ethical leadership at most levels of our society. I find it very sad what's happening at the federal government level. I don't care what the politics is. Very, very sad. Just recently, riding back from a Rotarian Youth Leadership Conference in St. Croix, it was a Sunday evening, the evening of Mother's Day. I thought to myself, after hearing over the course of the day about the Kiss and Tell books and why they were read, I thought to myself that the burden for leadership of our young people is falling more heavily at the local level now. Because if they don't see role models from afar, those role models must be recreated in the people and stronger in the people around them. In conclusion, let us remember that this world can be as good as we want it to be. Mostly, we need the will. But to accomplish it, we must focus on our hopes and our dreams rather than on our worries and our fears. This is a common thread over my life, both in and out of poverty. Focusing always on hopes and dreams rather than on worries and fears. In preparing my speech, another reason occurred to me why any institution might want to grant honorary degrees and present these funny-looking characters to the people who earn their degrees on this day. I thought to myself, maybe they are saying to you that you can accomplish much in your life, and to remember this wonderful quote is said by somebody whose name I don't have, but I love it. It says that if you have a goal, if in your mind you can conceive it, if in your heart you can believe it, then in your life you can achieve it. By awarding us these honorary degrees, you're saying to us that we are making the right decision when we turn our thoughts and our efforts totally and completely to meeting the needs of others. This is a high honor and affirming experience, and we thank you. And I'd like to congratulate all of the graduates, those who got your degrees the old-fashioned way, and my fellow honorary degree colleagues. We wish you all the success possible. Thank you very much.
Dr. King, on behalf of all of us here, I thank you for the challenge to our will and our vision, and I know our young graduates will incorporate those thoughts.